only 13% of all people, not just medical professionals, use this account to invest, despite it actually being the most tax-advantaged way for you to invest, period. I'm going to show you how to use your health savings account as a stealth IRA and an investment tool. I'm Kristen Burton, and I'm a critical care PA. I went from $161,000 in student loan debt to a millionaire in 7 years, and I founded Strive Coaching to help teach other medical professionals how to create financial freedom too. So as you're investing and as you're building wealth, this is a tool that you absolutely need to know about. Most people know what a health savings account is, but they only think of it as a tool for saving some taxes on paying your medical expenses. Now, before we dive any further, a health savings account and a flexible spending account are not the same. In fact, they're very different. An FSA is use it or lose it. At the end of the year, the money goes away if you don't spend it. A health savings account, an HSA, is not that way at all. The money is yours forever, it rolls over, and it is not a use it or lose it type of account. Plus, it can be an investment tool, which is why we're talking about it today. I'm going to run through 4 quick things you need to know to be an HSA investor. The first, is this even for you? Second, why is it so valuable? Third, how you actually do it. And fourth, pearls for doing this like a total boss and taking it to the next level. So first, is this for you? First off, you cannot use a health savings account if you do not have a high deductible medical plan. That is a prerequisite. So if you have a different type of medical insurance, watch something else. This is not for you. If you have a high deductible medical plan, you have HSA access. If that's the case, you've passed the first mark. The second mark for whether or not you should invest your HSA money basically comes from the rest of your financial situation. Do you have adequate emergency reserves outside of this account to pay for your medical deductible should you have a need arise? And second, do you have the room in your budget to cash flow small monthly medical expenses in order to fully utilize the strategy? If that is you, you have a high deductible medical plan, you have cash reserves, and you have the ability to pay for the small stuff along the way out of pocket, this is a strategy you need to know about. Why is this valuable? The taxation is so good, it is honestly like a traditional 401k and a Roth IRA got together and had a beautiful, magical, tax-favored baby. So when you make your contributions, they are quote-unquote pre-tax, meaning you get a tax benefit now. On top of that, all of the growth is tax-deferred, and if you use the money for medical expenses or qualifying expenses in retirement, it's tax-free on the back end too. There is literally nothing else like this from a tax standpoint. Now, before you say, why do I need all of this money for medical expenses in retirement? Hear me out. First off, you work in medicine, so you know how expensive it is, and you've seen plenty of patients struggle to pay for those expenses. So in your heart of hearts, you know it's true. But the data actually says that the anticipated medical costs for a 65-year-old totally healthy couple over their retirement span is over $300,000, according to a study done by Fidelity. And so needing this money for medical expenses is probably a given. And so if you use it this way, you can position yourself to get a tax break on the front end and the back end. Pretty cool. Why does the tax-deferred growth even matter? This is what happens when you invest in a tax-deferred vehicle versus a taxable brokerage account. Now, I used very small numbers here, starting at 0 invested and $4,000 a year, because this is within the maximum that an individual can contribute to an HSA as of 2024. If you do that and you extend that out for 20 years, assuming 8% returns across both fronts and a 25% marginal tax bracket, you can very clearly see the difference in final account value between the taxable account and the tax-deferred account. So when you're looking at fully taxable, in this instance, you would end up with $147,000, as opposed to your tax-deferred account before withdrawals looking at $183,000 as your account balance. That's a huge benefit just from investing in a vehicle that gives you tax-deferred growth. So how do you actually do it? Step 1, make sure that you have a high deductible medical plan and that you qualify. If you don't have an HSA servicer tied to your employer, you can open one on your own as long as you have a qualifying plan. Then contribute the maximum, ideally. For an individual, it's $4,150 for 2024, and for a family plan, it's $8,300. Now, if you just stop there, you're not using this account to invest. By default, the money goes into a checking style account. So you have to log into your HSA servicer and find the small button somewhere that says Invest My HSA Money. It will often allow you to auto-allocate funds into its suggested investment portfolio or allow you to choose your own. But regardless, you have to actually purchase something with the money, some type of index fund, ETF, something, in order for the money to be invested. Otherwise, this is a checking account. Now that the money is invested, you have to let it grow, which means you have to not use the account to pay for your medical expenses as they come up. Otherwise, you're not going to get the long-term investment returns that you think. So you pay for those things out of pocket as they occur, you leave your HSA money invested in the background, and essentially use it as a stealth IRA to provide additional money towards your future self or your retirement. Now, here's the pro tip that I mentioned. If you're paying for your medical expenses out of pocket because you're not spending those invested HSA dollars, you should keep record of every single receipt. There are tons of receipt scanning apps or scanning apps in general that will allow you to take those and document an electronic version in 30 seconds or less so that you have a record of every single medical expense that you paid for. Why do that? Because if you have receipts at any future date, you can actually go back and reimburse yourself out of your HSA, tax and penalty free, if you have documents stating that you spent the equivalent amount of money on a qualifying expense. So if you have those receipts, this becomes a backup emergency fund, which is really cool that you know if push comes to shove, I not only have access to my cash reserves, hopefully in a high yield savings account, right? But I also have this HSA balance that's been growing in the background that I could fall back on if I needed to, because I have years of receipts accumulated saying all of the medical expenses that I had paid for out of pocket along the way. I hope you start implementing this incredibly tax advantage way to invest. If you're not sure where else you should be investing, make sure you watch my next video on why every medical professional needs a Roth IRA.